Hello. Alright. I am on my personal account, and hello and welcome to the beautiful Red Bull Ring in Austria. Just a 75-minute race today after the endurance round at Nürburgring last time out. The first car to take the track is the Cuddly Koala. We do have a bit of a reduced grid today. Only 11 cars will take the green flag. Pretty even split between classes still, thankfully. Koala is followed by Publix, aka Hefty, and between them is Snipper Pig. No Dale today. We are expecting rain in the forecast for the race, although qualifying will be dry. So we'll see what these drivers can do.
I do want to point out that we are missing Stallard today as well. We are missing Stallard.
As well as Jonathan in the Audi still. And apologies as I look to see who else we are missing. In the GTE field, we are missing the 51 of Laser, who was the most recent driver to run that car, and of course, as I said, Dale the Whale. In LMP2, we have a 4-car grid, if I am correct. I do believe we do have a 4-car grid in LMP2.
I believe we're missing Big R today.
We are missing the 11, which was actually most recently driven by Damage. Big R started the season in that car, although we do have a driver in the 67, Cone in the 83, and Jeff in the 47 still. LMP1, it'll be Texas and Spidey in the Porsches, Dan in the number 5 Toyota, and Damage in the number 8.
How are you today, Dylan?
I am doing well. Real Life Motorsports is getting set to get underway. F1 preparing for this very track in a week or two. IndyCar's already back out on track after a thrilling Texas season opener, and NASCAR's still chugging along. How about you, Pecan?
A little devastated after today's F1 race. I was leading every single lap of the race, had a good car at my favorite track at Suzuka, and with about 5 or 4 laps to go, my internet decided to lag me out of the race and lost the race, pretty much. So it's a shame. I'm very upset, but I'll have to put those thoughts aside for this race today, and I'm just ready for a good race tonight. The rain always seems to bring out, the craziness. We do have a reduced grid today, as we are missing about 5 drivers from our series, but we should be fine for probably the rest of the drivers will be back, but it'll definitely be something to watch for when that rain comes in tonight, and see how much of a effect that it will have on these drivers.
Indeed, our last rain race was the sprint round at Zhuhai, which was a thrilling battle.
Yeah. We didn't have any rain at Fuji, right? I don't think we did.
I do not believe so. I believe it got cloudy and a little bit threatening, but I believe it stayed dry for most of that race, which is very uncommon for the WEC. But so far we've only had to tackle the rain once, and it was a doozy, as we definitely saw
To me, it was probably the race. In my opinion, it's the race of the year.
So far, for sure. Road America's a very close second, though, as Zoo High was definitely the race that shook up the championship. It closed in the fight between Dan and Texas at the front of the LMP1 field for sure, which that gap now is only 12 points. There's a 13-point swing between first and second, so championship lead is still on the table in LMP1. In LMP2, the 11 is not running today, which means that the top two closest cars on track have a 31-point difference. So that is slightly large, as both Fords have returned to the pits.
Pretty shocking from Publix, aka Hefty Bag. He's putting in a good time here with a 127.3.
He is. That's a very respectable time for a GTE car, as we're closing in on 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in qualifying. So these drivers preparing for their final runs here, if they want fresh tires and splash more fuel. But still very close between the field, only 0.8 separating them, and Snipper's half a second up on his lap time. So,
yeah, as Hefty Bag is not up on his time at all, too. But Pig looks like he's going to get him right up there to P2 for right now. If he continues, if he gets a good run out of this turn, it looks like he does. Ooh, he
runs a bit wide
there.
That final corner is very deceiving, very easy to carry in too much apex speed and run wide. Improves, but it's so close for second place as Publix improves his lap time again down to a 127 flat. We could see a 26 here. That is flying for the GTE cars. Meanwhile, the battle for second is down to under 35 1,000ths of a second, and Sniffer's already a 10th up at the end of the first sector.
We got the Cuddly Koala here coming down the final turn. I believe this is his out lap about to start his flyer.
I believe it is.
And I believe Warrior is currently still on his out lap as well. So
yep, so each of these cars will get 2 more laps. We'll see what they can do with them.
Gonna follow around Snipper Pig here, though. From what you were saying, he was up on his time, so this is definitely going to be something to watch for.
We'll see what his second sector is. He lost about half a tenth there. It would still all pretty much, if he improves his time, he's up into second place. So if he can keep it together through these final 2 corners, we'll see what he can do.
So something I'm starting to notice here is that it looks like Publix doesn't get a really great Sector 2 run, but he gets a really great Sector 3 run as he goes back into the pits. But Pig definitely gets up into second with a 127.4.
Yeah, we'll see if he can improve on his time or not. It looks like Koala will get 1 more lap. However, this could be the last lap for Warrior and Snipper. Snipper's right there within a 1/4 of a second, faster than a blink of an eye, of his first sector. So good run through the first corner. Notice on that fast lap, he kept it nice and tidy out of the final corner.
Koala's going to start his last lap here. He got a little squirrely coming out of one of the corners, so this is his chance to really improve on his time. Let's see how Warrior is doing. Warrior is currently up 3/10 on his time.
We just got news that Warrior earlier in this session, the reason why he was in the pits for a slightly longer time than we normally see is not for tires and fuel. He was having wheel difficulties, similar to what we saw Simon Pagenaud struggle with in the virtual 24 hours of Le Mans. Snipper lost it in the penultimate corner. This lap will be no good as he returns to the pits.
And Warrior takes pole. Warrior right now currently on provisional pole. You know that Publix is just in the garage just screaming right now.
Yeah, still looking to capitalize on the points opportunity he has here. Again, only 4 cars instead of the usual 6. This is only the second time we haven't seen a full grid in GTE. So there won't be as much of a point swing as possible if the Fords have a bad finish. But
Walla coming down the straight, though. He's coming down in the final turn. He was up on his time by at least a 1/10 and a half. Going to be interesting to see here if he does improve on it. And he does. He gets himself up to P3 with the 127.3. How
still
close
less
is
than
GTE?
half a tenth.
How close is GTE right now? As we saw at the beginning of the year, where it almost just looked like Warrior and Koala were just going to dominate the whole entire way. But it really does say a lot with how close this field is getting, with the talent of drivers that we have in Warrior, in Publix and Pig and Dale the Whale. You know, and as we all know, Pig is our this year Indy 500 winner. He's currently on track to win the UDL F1 title as well. So maybe Pig is going to try and hope to get that GTE title. But right now, LMP2 is currently out there on the track. We only have 3 drivers today in the LMP2 class. Now, I was not here for the Nürburgring race, but as I know, Driver has made the switch to LMP2.
Indeed he has. A nice, respectable race by Driver, getting up to speed in LMP2. Again, it's very difficult to switch classes in this series. Not exactly what it was designed for. Each class has its own driving styles, as Kona and Intersport have proven that they have mastered their own driving styles, as Intersport, coming off of the win at Nürburgring, trying desperately to gain back in that 31-point lead that Kona has over him. Not impossible. Again, we have a couple quadruple point rounds coming up for 100 points for the win. And again, tonight there's only 7 points swing between first and second. For Daytona and Le Mans, that's going to turn into a 42-point swing. So definitely still in the thick of it.
We're going to ride along with Cone Dodger here. He's coming up to the penultimate turn. He will be the first to set a flyer. Let's see what his time is here. It will definitely be faster than a 126.9. It got to be in the 120s at least. Yep, 120.9 as he sets the time. Here comes Intersport coming down the straight. What can he do? He goes to pole in LMP2 with a 120.8. So now we're going to follow along XX Driver here. Dylan, our former Chip Ganassi teammate back in the S3M days. He was our road course driver, and I was the oval driver of that number 8 car. Goes a little bit wide there in the final turn, but...
Indeed, looking for a little bit more out of that car, possibly still getting used to the track in these hazy conditions. As we ride on board through some of these drivers. Cone ran a little bit wide in turn 1. Definitely gave him some extra time in the first sector. He may have just used up his warning in qualifying. We'll see if he still improves on this lap or not. Runs a little wide in the penultimate corner, not going past track limits, however. And he definitely improves on his time, most of it coming from the first sector. As
see how Intersport does here. Can he retaliate back?
He does.
This is what you have to expect when it comes to these 2 drivers.
It is. I mean, the championship battle here, I mean, it hurts that Intersport started out in the wrong car. The team made the switch mid-season to this other Ligier chassis with a different engine. and it seems to have worked wonders for Intersport as he is looking very solid as he has finished.
And it's a great way for him to recover, because if I remember correctly, he also kind of took a points hit for making that switch.
Indeed he did. Indeed he did, with Cone only finishing third in Nürburgring last weekend, 2 weekends ago, excuse me. That was a 30-point swing in things, which Intersport desperately needed in order to catch back up.
Cone just put it back on pole, but you have to think Intersport's going to retaliate here, and he does. These two are just insane when it comes to the LMP2 car. Intersport was really wide there.
Excuse me, folks. I have not. I updated the points halfway, and indeed, I have not updated the points. In fact, that 30-point swing was so large that Jeff actually is only 1 point behind in the championship right now. Cone runs at 138 points, and Jeff is at 137. So whoever finishes higher this race will be the championship leader leaving this round.
Let's see how Cone Dodger does. He does not improve on his time. Intersport is now coming down. I believe that's driver now starting his hot lap. Does Intersport improve? Nope. But driver has now started his hot lap.
As we come down to the final 2 minutes in LMP2 qualifying. Yeah, I'm just double checking that. Yes, indeed, for some reason I did not update the LMP2 points, which is correct now. I also did not update the GTE points. So in GTE, the championship is Warrior with 211. Then all the way down in second is Dale, who is not here tonight.
Intersport is trying to go out for one last run, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time.
I don't think he will.
I do not think he will.
And he realizes that and returns to the pits.
I think he just realized. He probably heard us or something. As soon as I saw that he was coming out of the pits with like 11, with at least like just over a minute left in his session, in the LMP2 session, I was just like, I don't think you're going to be able to make that. But let's see, driver is trying to, he did improve on his time. We must have missed it. Can Cone Doctor improve on his? He will also get one more lap, but I don't know if he has the fuel to make it one last run.
It'll be very close if he does or not. Crosses the line.
He improved on his time.
Goes to pole.
Driver, though. He improves on his time, so this is getting close. So let's not forget that at the beginning of the year and how spread out that these times were. And looking at these times now, it's just, it says a lot about the quality of drivers that we have in this series, where everyone has just gotten so close to each other. And I think driver making the switch from LMP1 to LMP2 was the right call for him. It definitely seems like, you know, that this was the best choice for him to go. So, and the LMP2 class, as we pretty much just knew, it was just a 2-car field. Now driver is trying to make it a 3-car field, and driver gets really loose there and he bends it. And that is the end for LMP2, as now we are underway with LMP1.
Damage gonna be the first one to set a time lap as they begin their out laps, followed by Texas, then Spidey, the 2 Porsches running almost line astern, and Daniel surprisingly close to Spidey. This is something we have not seen yet. Drafting could definitely help you through the first sector here. Getting a draft up the hill, then back down it through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, plus a run onto the front straight to start a lap could definitely help you. But is it worth it through these left-handers that they're currently heading through?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if Spidey is a big fan of that at all. If he just lets Daniel go, I think he realizes of what was going on there.
Indeed.
We know Daniel wouldn't have minded that at all, just staying behind and getting a nice little tow, because that could definitely be a huge boost.
Indeed. So
as the order is right now, Damage will be the first one to complete a lap, with Texas behind it, Daniel behind Texas, as Spidey has just now gotten started. So that is the order that we are in. Dylan, have you sent the stream out into the WEC chat?
I don't think I have. We can do that real quick. And just a reminder of the sprint points in each class. In LMP1, it is a tie for first for the number 1 and the number 5. They have scored the same amount of points. In the sprint rounds, there have been 3 so far: Road America, Zhuhai, and Coda. However, with the number 1 having the tiebreaker of more wins, he does have the lead. Damage is currently sitting 4th behind his teammate John, who is not here tonight. And, correction, Damage is sitting 5th with Spidey in 3rd and John in 4th. In LMP2, the number 47 is 7 points behind the 83. So Cone is right now the better sprint race driver, but not by much. And the story is much closer in GTE. Again, it is a real shame that Dale is not here this afternoon, because Warrior, who has been dominant this year, has only scored 3 more points than Dale in the sprint rounds. So that would have been a fascinating sub-championship had Dale shown up to this race.
I'm going to follow along Texas here. I believe he's on another flyer. Nope, this is his out lap. I seem to have missed all of them going back into the pits, but they really like to do their whole, just do 1 lap.
Indeed.
And come back in and get another run in.
That's very fascinating, because especially in the GTE classes, we saw some of the fastest times being put in late into the run.
At least like 2 or 3 or at least 4 laps into their runs. I mean, Intersport and Cone did the exact same thing, where, you know, Intersport, Cone, and Driver, where it was just trying to get as many laps in as you can. But right now, as it sits, Daniel is currently sitting on pole. Daniel has really turned it up. I mean, everyone was saying, ooh, he kind of gets squirrely there coming out of that turn. But You know, people at the beginning of the year were thinking that Texas Time was just going to run away from him. He's done a great job.
He has. Dan has definitely taken the fight to Texas, especially in these sprint rounds, keeping the championship alive. Texas had a bad endurance round at... Well, actually, Texas hasn't really had a bad endurance round. He's just had some miserable sprint rounds, which has kept Daniel in the fight. Speaking of Texas, he's coming around the final corner here, looking for provisional pole, and he gets it. Improved his time by exactly a second. And is now sitting on provisional pole.
Damage trying to improve on his time. He does not. He probably had
that
a little bit of a scare there.
I was either scared or an outlap even. Spidey improves on his time, but not position. Meanwhile, Dan is back out.
Don't know if Daniel got in front of damage there where he kind of checked him up a little bit.
I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure this is an outlap for Daniel. I could be wrong, however.
It is. Here we go. Daniel's gonna get started on his outlap here. I wonder if Damage is trying to use anything here, like as far as the toe from Daniel. He does improve on his time. He might be getting a nice toe.
Indeed he does. He needs another 3/10 to get past Spidey as Texas and Daniel, again, that championship fight looking strong towards the front of the field. One thing with that diesel engine in the Audi, it has a lot of torque. May have some difficulty putting power down out of these hairpins.
Texas Time looks like he's going to start his final. It's going to look like he's starting his hot lap now. Yep, that was an outlap from Texas Time. I believe that is Spidey currently right now coming out of the pits. It is. So Spidey is trying to get at least a lap or two. I would say he has time for one more lap.
Oh, and Daniel lost it in the penultimate corner.
Coming out the penultimate corner. So if he wants to get out and start one more run, he needs to come out.
And Damage almost lost it coming onto the front straight. So that lap was a throwaway for Damage. I say that he was only 2/10 down, and Damage throws it all over the turtle. And Damage either needs to leave pit lane right now or his qualifying is done. Doesn't look like he's planning on leaving. There he goes.
Yep.
It'll be close to see whether he can circle around to get another lap or not. Damage frustrated after...
Time coming around though.
Is it me or was he topping out heading into that penultimate corner?
That's what it looked like.
Forgot it was 7 gear. And
with a 111.6.
Improves by a fraction of a second, but does improve.
So right now, as it stands, Texas is currently on provisional pole with a 111.6. Here comes Daniel, though. Spidey has also returned to the pits. That will also be his day done. Right now, he currently sits in P3. Daniel is probably going to have to do one more lap. Yeah, he will do one more lap to try and knock Texas Time off of pole position. So
it'll be close to see whether Damage comes around. It looks like he might be able to. Daniel looking for pole here at Red Bull Ring.
It looks like Damage has not really settled into the LMP1 car for this year yet. He's had some problems really finding the pace with that LMP1 car compared to his, counterpart John. Daniel, what can he do? Is here. Coming around now to turn number 8. I can't tell what he's topping out at because the qualifying complete bar is taking away any view that I can see.
Damage did get another lap, but it's all about Daniel right now. And Daniel does not improve his position. I think he possibly improved his lap time. Damage looking for a quarter of a second to get past Spidey to start on the inside of the second row. And
he doesn't get it.
No, he did. He got it.
Did? Wow.
He got it at the checkered.
Good run there with a 112.499. So that will put Spidey all the way down into P4. So as it stands, Texas time is on pole. Daniel in P2, Spidey in P3, Mr. Damage in P4. In the LMP2 class, we have Cone Dodger on pole with Intersport in P2 and Driver in P3. And then, of course, not a shock to everyone, Warrior is on pole in GTE, followed by Publix, the Cuddly Koala, and Snapper Pig. And just to remind our viewers...
Oh, Pecan, your mic has cut out.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
So just to let the viewers know, Public is the driver formerly known as Hefty Bag. So, Dylan, I have to ask you, what are your predictions for this race?
Being a sprint race, we're definitely only a one stop for GTEs, depending on how the weather falls. If it starts raining pretty early in the race, they could have to make a splash for a couple laps of fuel. The LMP2s and the LMP1s, if the rain falls early, easily a two-stopper. If it falls right in the middle of the race, I think it's going to fall start to rain after about 20 minutes or so. If it falls late enough into the race, it could be a one-stop if they do some fuel saving in LMP1 and 2. So the strategy is going to be crucial for this sprint race. And honestly, whoever makes the right call could very easily win this race for these classes. When to pit? That is the question. When do you put on wets? How long do you stay out on dries?
So my question to you here is that out of these two, Texas and Daniel, the last time that we had a rain race, Daniel really looked like he was the man in control of the wet weather, with Spidey, who was also running a really great race as well. So I think Spidey could be a dark horse for when it starts to rain. As far as Cone Dodger and Intersport go, Cone Dodger had a great race back at the rainy Zhuhai race. And I think Intersport was still in the other car at that time as well.
I believe he was, as I'm pretty sure the switch came after Fuji. I'm pretty sure he took Fuji off to get some more testing done with that new car, as the team was preparing a setup for it. So, definitely going to be a close race in LMP2. I expect a hard-fought race in GTE, as it is Ford, Ferrari, Ford, Chevy. So, Ford lined up against their biggest rivals in GTE, but up front it's LMP1, Porsche Toyota on the front row, followed by the Volkswagen Auto Group on the second row. They come up, lights go on.
Straight now. They're coming down the straight, and we are green flag, folks. Green, 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 green. As Texas gets a nice run, trying to defend from Daniel.
Oh! And Daniel's taken out by, I think that was Spidey. Possible lag bump. Everyone continues, so doesn't look like there was damage. Cone runs wide in turn 1. Jumps back on track in front of Intersport. Intersport swerving left and right. They almost go 3 wide up to turn 3. They are 3 wide into turn 2, into turn 3, up into the top of the hill. Heavy braking for this hairpin. And Driver goes to the lead in LMP2. We did not see that coming.
The GTE race has now gone underway with Warrior holding the lead out in front of Publix, and it looks like Hefty Bag, I'm just going to keep on calling him that, is getting a nice little run here. Is he going to look for a move as Warrior tries to defend the inside? He's going to have to go outside, but he gets a
move
nice
around
run.
The outside. We saw this.
Nice run.
We saw that move in the GTE race we had a couple weeks ago. Hefty ran the Ferrari, one of the only drivers in the GTE field to run the same car as this race, getting extra tuning done on that. Knows where he can and can't make that move go.
And they're still side by side. Oh, and I think, yeah, Warrior has finally cleared him. Warrior has finally cleared him. And folks, unfortunate, but Daniel is now in the pits. Daniel has taken some damage from that wreck. We don't know what exactly happened, but Daniel is now currently in the pits as Driver is taking control of this LMP2 race as it stands right now. And Texas is running away with it in LMP1.
Meanwhile, the final step on the podium in GTE is up for grabs between Snipper and Koala. Koala does not get a great run out of the final corner. Snipper right on the exhaust pipes of that pig-snouted back end of the Ferrari, of the Ford, excuse me. Heading through turn 1, again, Koala not getting the great run out of the corner. It looks like the Corvette's faster on exit. Ford's good on the brakes. We'll see if he can do anything up into turn 3, as LMP1 has started to spread out a little bit. LMP2 still pretty tight, but it's still Driver in the lead over Cone. Meanwhile, Hefty looking to get a run on Warrior.
He's got a great run on Warrior here. He's going to the inside. Warrior's going to have to try to defend that outside as best as he can. Hefty Bag kind of gives him a nice little shut on the door, but he takes the lead of the race. He has taken the lead in GTE, but Warrior is going to fight back, though. Warrior is fighting back on the inside.
And they touched.
Ooh, no, it didn't. They almost touched, but it was really, really close, as they are still side by side. And
wow, very difficult to do, to keep it on the outside through those 2 left-hand corners. Very incredibly difficult, and what this has done is opened the door for Koala and Snipper. They are now right back on Warrior in the first of the Fords.
Oh,
meanwhile, Hefty runs wide.
A bad exit. He got a bad entry into that final turn, which is now going to give Warrior a chance here to battle up this straight. And Pig is trying to look for a move on Koala. Pig is looking for a move on Koala, and he does. He gets it. He gets the move done, and he's into P3, but Warrior is fighting back. Warrior, right now, down the back of Bag, goes to the outside. He's trying to defend, Bag is, but Warrior is trying to take it. But it looks like Bag got a
cone's off.
Exit.
Cone's into the wall in the gravel trap in the second of the left-handers. I'm not sure how that happened. I switched to him right when it happened. He's back on track as Intersport and Driver both stay out, seem to be undamaged. Cone also stays out. So he must not have gotten that much damage, but he was clear in the back of the gravel trap.
To tell you folks right now, Warrior has just taken the lead back from Bag. They have been battling side by side for a while now. And they're still side by side, it looks like.
And we got LMP1 traffic coming up through now. Texas has already caught the back end of the field. Meanwhile, Damage and Spidey are closing in a little bit. We will keep our eye on that, but this GTE battle is taking top priority right now with this amazing 4-car battle, with the LMP1 starting to weave their way through traffic just 5 minutes into this race. It's not called a bull ring for nothing.
No, it is not, as that is the other thing that I forgot to bring up in my notes, is that with how short that this track is, on a regular F1 car, you can run at a 103 on this track, and knowing that, it's like traffic management is definitely going to be key in this race, and it's only going to be magnified even more when it starts to rain.
Indeed, as LMP1 cars looking to the right side, GTE cars stay to the left of this braking zone here. Damage sweeping through traffic, slices in between Warrior and Hefty there. Now Spidey looking to the left, looking to the right, swerving all over the track to get through this traffic. Now looking to the left again in the middle of these corners. That's tight.
Ooh,
gets it done barely.
Really close. He almost gets really close to his GTE teammate there. And I will say, the guy that kind of got left out to dry when the LMP1 cars were making their passes was the Koala. He kind of got a little bit screwed there by the LMP1 cars, but that's just the way it goes. But it's still a major 3-car fight here for the lead. I wouldn't count Pig out. I have raced against Pig, and I've raced against him many times. I've watched so many races. There is nobody that you can count out of a race like Pig does. That man is one of the luckiest drivers you will ever see in your life when it comes to sim racing.
Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure Daniel is still on the lead lap. Indeed, he is. He's three-quarters of a lap down, but still on the lead lap, which is crucial. Should anything happen and the leaders pit for damage, they will be right in it. Cone, meanwhile, about a second a lap down on his class leaders the last lap. We will keep you updated on that. Still not sure what happened.
Following Warrior here. Really, this race is only just beginning, and we still have rain on its way in this race, so it's going to get pretty competitive here, and it's going to get extremely dicey. But it looks like the drivers are kind of falling into line now, not really wanting to do anything dumb, because they know as soon as it starts to rain, it's going to be extremely tough. But I will say I'm very impressed with driver's pace right now in that LMP2 car. He is driving really, really, really well.
Indeed. Definitely seeing an increase of performance from the Ferrari as we get later into the season. As at first they struggled, they did not get their first podium until Road America, which they've done. Both of the Ferraris have generally done better in sprint races than the endurance. However, they are still, hate to put it so bluntly, but they are still last in every championship, the overall, the endurance, and the sprint championship. So looking to switch that around, and this would be a great head of steam if they could switch this after a double retirement at Nürburgring.
So both Ferraris retired out of the Nürburgring. That has to be tough. It looks like Bag ran into some cones there. Warrior kind of collects some dirt coming out of that turn, coming out of the S section.
Meanwhile, Daniel is working his way through GT traffic, trying desperately to get back into the fight in LMP1. Double checking Cohn's most recent lap times. His last lap was a 29. So Cohn encountering some more problems as he is now almost half a sector. Heck, he's almost a full sector behind the leaders as the leaders are coming onto the front straight when he is leaving the second sector. So not the race that Cohn wanted. Driver not really in the championship hunt. Again, if he does well in the quadruple point races, the crown jewels of Daytona and Le Mans, he could still be in the championship theoretically, but right now he just has to go for wins. And Intersport looking to close in and actually take the lead, considering he's only 1 point behind Cohn.
Driver currently lapping better than Intersport as well. The last laps that they ran, Driver was about 3.5 tenths faster than Intersport there on that lap. Driver is making some really good time on Intersport here, as it looks like the gap is just starting to further and further away here. It just went from 4 seconds. It now looks like it's up to 4.5.
Indeed, so field starting to spread out a little bit more as we get into the race. A nice rhythm forming by all of these drivers as the LMP1 cars start to work their way through the LMP2 pack.
Hefty Bag trying everything he can to just stay in the draft of Warrior. Warrior has been the class of the field in the GTE group, but you know, Bag, out of anybody, he wants to take a win or finally get some great points for the Ferrari team, because they need those points badly.
Yes, they do. Miserable start to the season for Ferrari. Meanwhile, Warrior seems like the one who cannot be beaten. Again, he's only lost the two races he's lost. He's finished second, both of which were sprint races. The first race of the season, he finished second to his teammate at Circuit of the Americas. And then Dale won at Road America after a hard-fought battle and a penalty that was a drive-through penalty that Dale did not take. And after post-race review, it was deemed that the penalty was unnecessary, that there was no wrong done. So, thankfully, a quiet post-race for Nürburgring as these drivers get more used to each other and running around each other. This time it's taken 7 minutes for Texas to catch up to the GTE cars. Meanwhile, your LMP2 leader, Driver, is also to the back of the GTE cars. So all three classes together on the same spot on track. Texas has increased his lead over Damage by up to 8 seconds. Damage has 3 seconds in hold over Spidey. Meanwhile, Dan is down to 37 seconds behind Texas. In LMP2, it's Driver with about a 4-second lead over Intersport. And then another almost 20 seconds back to Cohn. Looking at last lap times, Cohn was actually on pace, faster than Intersport, pretty much on pace with Driver, although they were starting to encounter LMP1 and GTE traffic. In GTE, it's still Warrior with, I would call it car length and a half now. Ahead of Hefty with Snipper and Koala desperately chasing to catch up.
Well, what happened is that when Texas was going for his pass to get through the GTE cars, he sent it down.
Oh, peek on your mic. And apologies for missing that on my stream as I was running through the field.
He sent it down the inside of Warrior to go into that turn, and it kind of caught Warrior out of it, which then gave Hefty Bag all of the room that he really needed to get in there. And folks, we have rain.
Indeed, it has
Driver
started to
trying
rain.
go for a move. Driver tried to go for a move there to get past the GTE cars, as there is a very fast Spidey there who's trying his
Dropping two
absolute
wheels in the
best.
grass.
Just doing everything he can to just get these slower cars out of his way to catch up to damage, but all of that has kind of gave Bag a chance to really battle with Warrior here as he runs over a board there. Don't know if that did any damage to his car. I believe that is Intersport that is behind them.
Indeed it is. Warrior definitely having the back end step out on him a little bit at turn 4 at the bottom of the hill there. So we'll see what can happen. We know the drivers were complaining about puddles coming out of turn 7 and 8 at the beginning of the third and final sector. Another thing to watch out for is these curbs they're very tricky in the dry. In the wet, they're even more treacherous. And you can see Hefty Bag using Intersport's draft on the front straight instead of Warriors trying to gain every advantage he can, using the bigger hole punched by the LMP2 car with all that extra downforce. And that's something else we haven't mentioned yet. And these hairpins, especially in the rain, these LMP2 cars rely on downforce to help them get through these corners. Meanwhile, the GTE cars, while they do have a decent amount of downforce, they have the suspension travel and grip to let them crawl their way through the corners at a faster speed than the LMP2 cars. So the class difference here is not going to be easy, especially with turns 7 and 8 becoming single file.
Those wipers are definitely now being used on the Ferrari as they have activated their windshield wipers. I don't think Warrior has used his at all. Very interesting.
Which part of that could be spray. We've yet to see it on the TV cameras, but these other drivers could be encountering spray starting, which if spray is coming up, we would definitely expect to see some cars in the pits. Usually it takes about 5 minutes for spray to start coming up though, so.
Dodger right now is catching the back of the GTE field. As it stands right now, driver is still in control of the LMP2 race against Intersport, as Texas Time is still in control of the LMP1 race as well, as he currently sits in P1 and he pits. Texas is coming into the pits for his, I'm assuming he's already going to make that change to wets as Damage pulls into the pits as well. Spidey stays out. Spidey is staying out.
And this is the strategy I was talking about. Did Spidey make the right call? Are they pitting for wets too early? Spidey could be trying to make it a one-stop on fuel. I think Damage and Texas are definitely going to need a splash before the end of the race. I don't believe they can make it on fuel. Meanwhile, Dan coming into past pit entry makes a late dive for it, and he is in. So is Intersport.
Intersport is pitting, so
driver stayed out.
Intersport is pitting, so we are now on a busy pit lane, folks. Texas
staying out. Kona's out. Kona's staying out.
Warrior is pitting.
Sniffer is pitting. Hefty stayed out.
Is pitting as well.
So the three cars that stayed out are Spidey, Driver, and Hefty. So third place, the leader, and second place in each category respectively. You can see the Rooster Tails now coming up into turn 3. I think most of the field made the right call on when to pit, as it is starting to pick up a little bit. You can see the sheen on the track a little bit more than you could a few minutes ago. We'll see what they can do.
Spidey is pitting. Spidey is pitting. He ran not a good lap at all from Spidey on the last time that he was running, so I think he may have made the right call there. Daniel is coming out of the pits now. I believe that is Intersport
And driver almost lost it coming into pit lane. Ran wide in the penultimate corner, had to jump on the brakes mid-turn, which made the back end step out in order to come into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Hefty, I think the GTE cars can make it from here, especially in the rain. They won't be using as much fuel. Hefty using the proper pit entry, and so did Cone, and Cone hits the wall behind him.
Hits the wall while he was coming into the pits. That is not good for Cone at all. Bag is also into the pits. So that is not what Cone wanted at all. Where is Spidey? Texas is already passed. He is way along.
Now the question is, where's driver and where's Intersport? Driver is moving down pit lane, I think.
Spidey gets out in front of Damage. So Spidey gets out in front of Damage. Wow. But where is Intersport? You are right. Where is Intersport? As driver is now getting a move on.
Driver is out of the pits. Driver, I think, increased his lead. So surprisingly, I think these late pitters made some time if they got into pit lane cleanly. So, speaking of which, GTE, where is
Bag
Warrior?
And where is Warrior? Warrior is now coming down the final turn.
Hefty's accelerating. Hefty's got the lead. He's got a healthy lead.
So so that's a overcut, ain't it? So great strategy call for these guys to stay out, as now Spidey has gotten into P2 on Damage. Driver stays his lead, but he goes out into the grass. Cone Dodger is still in the pits, probably is repairing a lot of damage to his car. But Bag, Driver, and Spidey there, they really benefited from waiting until the next lap to pit. And Bag gets loose. Hefty Bag gets loose. He is now in the gravel trap. So all that lead he just built up. Where is Warrior? Warrior is coming down the turn right now, but Bag has lost it coming out of that turn. That has now opened up the fight to Warrior. So he had a big lead. He is still having a major problem.
I wonder if the game put him on the wrong tires. And Hefty has retired from this race. I would say the game put him on the wrong tires. Unfortunately, another retirement for...
As Warrior
Warrior's off.
Warrior goes off the track.
And here comes Snipper. What is happening to this field?
This is what happens when you have rain, folks, in this race. It just equalizes everything, and Pig is going down the inside. He's going down the inside of Warrior. They are side by side going into the final turn. Do they make contact? They do not, but Warrior gets a better run. But Pig is still right there with him. And it looks like Warrior has the faster car, but Warrior cannot afford to have any more mishaps.
Indeed. Again, who can keep it clean in the rain? That's the biggest thing. Every lap it's going to be different. Every lap the puddles are going to be building, as we're expecting the rain to get heavier and heavier as the race goes on. Meanwhile, the battle for second in LMP1 is passing the battle for the lead right now, as the second place car of Spidey splits the GTE cars, goes past Warrior, and now Damage splits the GTE cars around the outside and to the end of the second sector. And right here, folks, these two corners, this left-right complex, is where they were talking about the puddles forming massively on the apexes. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the race progresses.
Damage trying everything he can. He goes off the track there in the ultimate turn. Now, what are the track limits for this race, Dylan, if you want to explain to the viewers who are watching?
So, as we hop on board of the 67 car, as it heads into turn 1, you'll notice on the outside of this corner there's a green patch right there Warrior heads on it. He kept 2 tires on the red and white curb, which was originally what the track limits were. However, they can now use all of that green patch if they so please. It's the same situation in the penultimate corner. As far as corner apexes, the left wheels cannot pass the red and white curb on the right-hand corners. That's pretty much all that's there for track limits. The 2 left-handers, there's an access road for the junior course that is on the driver's right in between the 2 left-handers, right at the sector 2-3 split. And that's all fair game. So that's why you saw Hefty hit those cones earlier in the race. He was taking advantage of that. As side note here, if the timing and scoring is to be believed as accurate, which on this game it isn't always, in that pit cycle, Daniel has gained 15 seconds on the leader.
Looks like Daniel's got a little bit loose there, but Daniel still has a good run.
Indeed. This cone weaving through the GT leaders almost takes Warrior out, puts Warrior on a funky line through the final corner. Snipper has the run to the inside, falls back behind to get the draft. Will he make a move to the braking zone of turn 1? It looks like Ford still has the brakes on the Corvette for sure. Again, Warrior seems to have the faster car, but Snipper right now seeming like he's the more consistent driver, even though it's not necessarily Warrior's fault where he gets put due to lap traffic. Snipper able to manage and time that traffic much better. Again, proving as Warrior runs wide in turn 3, outbrakes himself.
Snipper Pig. That's going to allow Pig back into the fight, though. They're going side by side down the straight. Pig, but it looks like Warrior just has the faster tune. His car just in a straight line is just more faster than Pig's. Right now we got a battle for P2 here in LMP1 though, with Damage trying to get down to trying to take over that final spot. Damage is going to try and throw everything he can. Daniel gives him a nice little block.
Again, the Audi seems to struggle to put all that torque to the ground, especially in the rain, but has the torque helps them once they get up to 3rd or 4th gear or so. Spidey outbrakes himself.
Oh, that's going to cost him a lot of time there. I did just receive word. Hefty Bag. They put the wrong tires on his car. He said he got all of his strategies picked out, but they still put them on the hards. So that is very tough for Bag as well, as he had all of that time, was looking to have a great race today, and just did not work out for him at all. So very unfortunate for Hefty Bag, who was looking to have a great race. He got the overcut to work absolutely to perfection, but his crew put on the wrong tires, which essentially ended his race. Still got a good battle here for GTE.
Indeed, Damage has been able to pull away from Spidey slightly, although they are still pretty close together. We're going to focus on this GTE battle now for now, though. As one of the, I think that's Texas, is coming up to lap them once again. Indeed it is. Texas smartly waits until the front straight to pass the cars. He's got the lead.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything down there. He knows better.
Which Daniel is definitely gaining on Texas. Daniel's last lap time was a 1:10.06. Texas, after being held up by those 2 GTE cars, Daniel's was a 1:18.06. Texas's was a 119.9 with damage and Spidey in the 20s and 22s. So Daniel, fastest car on track at the moment. Got held up a little bit by Intersport there, so both of these drivers being held up by traffic. Daniel's still in the 18s though, an 18.5. Runs a bit wide, so does Intersport. With the rain, I'll be a little bit friendly with them, but I definitely have my eye on 3 of the cars out on track right now for track limits at turn 1. Especially the 8, the 5, and the 47.
Spidey trying to do everything he can to get within passing of damage here. Trying to do it, he's just hoping for Warrior to make a mistake. It's very hard to get Warrior to make any type of mistake as well. So I don't think anybody still has to pit yet. Do you think? Like, do they have one more pit left, or I don't think anybody really has to
checking
pit
fuel numbers in LMP1, it's going to be close, especially for the Audi, which has the smallest tank. It is the most fuel efficient, but they shrunk the tank so much, it's kind of unfair to the Audi, to be honest. That's a whole nother story about how the FIA balances cars. In LMP2, that's very, very interesting. So, driver got the huge jump on Intersport by not taking as much fuel. Driver has 20 liters less than Intersport does, and Cone's right about on pace with Intersport. Cone actually has more fuel than Intersport. In GTE, they all have over 70 liters. They should be good to the end of the race. Driver may have to make a splash depending on how much fuel he has to save, and the LMP1s, especially damage, are going to be very close.
And judging from the lap times that Driver has said and the other LMP2 cars have said, it doesn't look like Driver is saving fuel at all. So this will be a very interesting strategy to watch out for.
Meanwhile, Snipper sent a fake dive up to the inside in turn 3.
I think he wanted to scare him a bit, kind of give him a little bit of a scare, see if that was going to maybe catch Warrior off guard. Try to get him distracted a little bit, but it definitely didn't look like it. Warrior doing really well in this rain. Pig is just needing any type of mistake that he can get from Warrior, as Warrior definitely looks like he has the faster car. Pig just can't do anything about it. He just needs Warrior to slip up is what he needs.
Indeed. Or could use Intersport as a pick. And this is what I was talking about earlier. not a lot of people realize, okay, I'm the faster car, I need to lose as little time as possible through lap traffic. The same goes for the GTE cars, as indeed, this is what I was talking about. The LMP2 car can't get through the hairpin as fast as the GTE cars in the rain. It held Warrior up a little bit, not enough to give Snipper a run down into turn 4 though. However, if that would happen when Snipper's already on the back of Warrior, that could be game over for the Ford as far as holding off that bright yellow Corvette goes.
Which has definitely been the fight this whole entire season, which has been the Chevy Corvette against the Fords. So that has been the fight the whole entire year. You just have to think that Warrior is just getting sick and tired of seeing that bright yellow Chevy behind him. As Pig is just dealing with a bunch of spray. Just gonna take a look at it. Pig's vision and what he sees. He just gets a nice bit of spray just from Warrior the whole entire way down. So I don't know if it's like as much as throwing dummies or if it's just trying to peek out to look, where is my brake?
As Warrior hit the turtle, we call it the turtle curb. It's a big yellow sausage curb on the inside of turn 1. Warrior hit that, and Snipper gave him a little bit of a love tap coming out of turn 1, not prepared for the Ford to be that slow. Warrior doing a good job making sure he stays in track limits.
As that was Texas time, I believe, that just made the move on.
Indeed it was. And folks, we are halfway through this race. So at the halfway mark, your rundown is Texas in the number 1 Porsche, looking for another win. This would be his first win in the rain. He has almost a 19-second lead over Damage in the 8 Audi, who is only about, I would say, a dozen car lengths over ahead of Spidey, currently running in P3. Meanwhile, Daniel has almost caught both of them on a tear after his early race spin. Not sure if that was lag or something else on the opening lap. A fantastic recovery drive from him. Driver, after shooting the middle on the opening lap heading up to turn 3, making it 3 wide and some alternate strategy, in the lead currently with about 20 seconds over Intersport and about another 20 seconds back to Cone. So not the run that Cone was looking for. Meanwhile, it is still the battle for the lead in GTE, with Warrior having about 8 car lengths over Snipper, make it 5 as they close into the braking zone. And then they have about 20-25 seconds over Koala, currently chugging around for the final podium position. And that is your Cadillac mid-race update.
Texas time still holds the race lead in LMP1. Now, driver is going to have to pit. Looking at his fuel and how much time is left in the race, he is going to have to pit. So that strategy will be one to play out and see how it goes. As he doesn't have the fuel, I think, to carry it out until the end of the race. He still is lapping as about as fast as Intersport and Cone. So he's going to have to pit one more time.
Yeah, unfortunately it is looking that way. Now the question is, A, do Intersport and or Cone have to pit for fuel? B, if they do, how much of a time difference is that going to make? Because honestly, driver, looking where he is on track, he could definitely drive through pit lane and not lose third place. Whether he has enough time to take fuel or not, I don't know. And Cone and Snipper tap each other in turn 3 and then get together on the exit of turn 3 a little bit. Both cars look undamaged, but there could be minor damage, especially aero damage, to both, especially that very aero-sensitive LMP2 car. So again, that could be what driver needs in order to salvage a second place, with him needing to pit for fuel.
He can. I think driver had a spin. Going into one of those turns. He was going really, really slow coming out.
He has definitely lost about 5 or 6 seconds. We can look at his lap time once he crosses the line. His last lap was at 21.2.
Driver had a spin. I think he had a spin going into turn 5.
Warrior almost spins it coming out of turn 3. That gives Snipper a run to the left. He ducks back in again. That Ford just seems like the Corvette suffers the same problem that the Audi does. Too much torque off of these hairpins to put the power down. And driver definitely had a mistake. His last lap was 12 seconds off of 10 to 12 seconds off of what he's usually been running. That said, Intersport ran 27.1.
Also, just wanted everybody to know, Daniel has now caught up to the back of. He's back in the race.
He's not back in the race. He has already finished his race with Spidey, as he just flew past Spidey up the hill into turn 3, and now sets his sights on damage.
The other question is he going to have enough fuel, though?
If any LMP1 car is going to run out, it's going to be damage. And the tough thing about these LMP1 cars is they do not have fuel mixes. They run in full rich all the time. There is no lean or normal setting. So it's very difficult to save fuel in these LMP1 cars. And right here, you can see Daniel stuck behind Intersport. This is that tough puddle area that we were talking about. Goes around the outside of turn 8 of Intersport, but unable to make that pass to the inside of turn 7 because of those puddles. Meanwhile, Snipper has spun in turn 3. I'm not sure if Texas had any help with that, or whether it was a collision with Warrior. It looked like he spun.
I didn't see a collision at all. There wasn't really anybody around. I think it was a spin out on his own.
I was going to say, that's awfully early in the corner to have contact. Depending on where he spun, likely locked up the rears or possibly broke with 2 tires in the grass and just got all sort of mishapped. Meanwhile, Daniel already
just catching the back of damage.
Indeed.
Insane speed. As we were saying, the only rain race this year that we've had, he won it decisively. So rain is a little bit of Daniel's specialty there. We'll definitely have to see after the race if he does save his footage on what caused the wreck there on lap 1 and turn 1. So that will definitely be something that will be looked at. But he's trying. I mean, he's catching up. He's right now he's I think faster than everybody else, and he's catching the back of damage by quite a lot. As we do have a driver in the pits. Driver is pitting. I don't know if he had another wreck, if he had to pit for damage, but Intersport is going to get the race lead.
Intersport's already by. Where's Cone?
Taking the race lead. Where is Cone?
He's coming out of turn 8 into turn 9. under the Worth Bridge. Driver is still stopped in his pit box. Cone will inherit second place, as there's Cone on the front straight as driver leaves his pit box, and yes, Cone will definitely inherit second place. Meanwhile, Snipper has gained some of the distance back to Warrior as the LMP1 cars, as
Daniel runs into the back of Pig.
indeed.
Don't know if that gave him any damage or not, but that was a horrible spot.
Meanwhile, Damage was stuck behind Warrior, and Daniel hip checks Warrior. Warrior keeping it on track, but Daniel
goes for it, but he thinks better, and when he waits for the next one. Damage just hoping for any type of a mistake, because Damage is still going to have to pit, and he needs any type of mistake that will get Daniel or Spy be caught out, but Daniel is hauling. He is hauling, he is right on the back, he is now to the side, and he just wow.
Damage throws it up the inside, though. That Toyota has the power up the hill. Does it have the power back down the hill? We'll have to see. These drivers can deploy the hybrid in different spots of the track if they want.
But Daniel goes right back. Daniel is going right back. Oh, and it looks like Damage kind of shuts the door on him. And Daniel gives him a nice little tap, and he gets around Damage.
The number 5 has been given a warning for avoidable contact. Damage's crew will have told him this, and Damage will be pushing to try to make him make a mistake, considering he knows that the 5 is being watched by the safety stewards.
But Daniel's now pulling away from Damage considerably. I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore.
I think you're right.
As I think Daniel is just a way better driver in the rain and in the car. Just he has the better setup, and he's just a way better driver in the rain, and he has that talent, and I think he's just going to pull away here and take P2. But we got to give it up to Daniel here, who had the lap 1 turn 1 wreck and got all the way down into last place. He had to pit to repair the car, and now he's all the way back up into P2, folks. So
Indeed,
what a drive here.
But
what a recovery drive.
Unfortunately, I think Snipper is a casualty of his late race charge. Pretty sure Snipper has rear suspension damages. This lap was a 137. However, Warrior was only a 140, but Koala was a 136. So, Snipper's car does not look happy through turns 6 and 7.
Warrior's car doesn't really look all too exciting as well. It looks like it's driving really, really slow.
Which, I mean, both of these cars, yeah, Warrior's definitely slowing up. Both of these cars did have contact with Daniel for sure. Which, if both of them got damaged, that would probably result in a post-race time penalty. Possibly not a post-race drive-through, but both of those contacts were definitely avoidable, unfortunately. And
yeah,
we'll just have to see what happens.
Do not look like they're having a good time
No.
right now. I mean, if you go and look at where Koala is and how he's driving, and you look at how Pig and Warrior are currently driving in the rain, Koala looks like he is the better car right now. We see Snipper Pig getting passed by Texas there, who Texas still in control of the LMP1 race. And I believe Cuddly Koala is starting to gain on Pig a little.
I think he is. I'm thinking, because again, so those last laps were a what was it, a 30 38 for Warrior, 37 for Snipper, and a 36 for Koala. This last time by, Warrior was down to a 39, was up to a 39, I should say. Snipper Pig found more speed out of that car. He was the one that ran a 36, and Koala to a 38. So honestly, these cars could have slight suspension damage, making them a little bit harder to drive, thus the inconsistent times. But I don't think we will see any of these drivers pitting to repair their damage, considering they're good on fuel.
And especially how close the race is, and what I believe is about 25 minutes left in this race. It would just be way too much of a gamble to really give up their, to give up their spots. Warrior still in control of the GTE race. Intersport also in control of the LMP2 race, with Texas Time still in control of the LMP1 race. And Daniel has a spin. Daniel has spun it. And Damage has gotten himself around Daniel. So Daniel had a spin maybe in one of those puddles.
Possibly.
Going up the hill.
Yeah, that's the area of the track where the drivers were talking about them being the worst. That 7-8 area before the Worth Bridge, just after the Sector 2, Sector 3 timing line.
I don't know if Daniel took any damage or if he got hit by anyone there, but it definitely looks like Daniel has lost out on P2 for the moment, because we all know that Damage is going to have to pit. I mean, with how many liters of fuel he has left in the car and how much time is left in the race, he is going to have to pit. Pig has also caught up to Warrior as well. Pig has also caught up to Warrior just a bit. So the race for the win in GTE is not over yet. Just like we know the race for P2 is not over yet, as we know Damage is going to have to make one more stop. There is no way, with how much fuel that he has left in that car, I wouldn't bet that he can make the whole entire race.
I mean, as far as fuel, I don't think Damage is going to make it, to be honest. It'll be extra close with the other LMP1 cars. And LMP2 Intersport's cutting it close as well. I think Cone is good to go on the end. GTE cars definitely do not need to pit. In fact, all of them quite severely overfilled their cars.
So as it looks like, right, and the GTE cars, from what I'm seeing, none of them are going to have to pit at all. But as it stands right now, folks, the race leader in LMP2 is probably more than likely going to have to pit. And the battle for P2 in LMP1 with Damage, he's going to have to pit as well. So the race win in LMP2 is still pretty much up for grabs. It just depends on how Intersport Pits goes. He hasn't exactly had too much of an issue or anything, but I think Cone Dodger can get the pass when Intersport has to pit.
Yeah, Intersport's cutting it dangerously close. And we know that Cone's already mastered fuel saving once around here. Again, in that GTE race that I was talking about that we had a couple weeks ago, he masterfully saved fuel to beat me out by 0.2 of a second after the end of a 2-hour race. So, if he can do it for that long, he can definitely do it for a 75-minute sprint.
Daniel trying to hunt down damage, try to get his P2 back, but I don't think he exactly knows the type of fuel that Damage has, so I'm pretty sure he's unaware of it, so he's going to trying to chase down Damage as best as he can. But that's definitely a thing to look out here for. But Intersport right now, he's gonna have to pit. It's just all going to depend on, on when he's going to be right at that limit, as we are now under 20 minutes to go left in this race.
Yeah, these sprint races are definitely throwing up some curveball with Zhuhai, and with this race, it was definitely the rain and the strategy that came with that. Coda and Road America were just all-out fist-fight sprint races to the end. No holds barred.
It looks like the rain is starting to let up a little bit on my screen.
It is a little bit. Still going to rain for the rest of the race, however. It's just the puddles shouldn't get that much worse. With only 10 cars on track, however, they aren't going to disappear by any means, but being such a short track, that also means that there are more laps circulated and more spray will get thrown up in the air versus a track compared to something like Coda that's almost twice as long.
Yeah, Intersport and Damage are going to have to pit. There's no way. There's no way that they can make it until the end. Intersport is going to have to pit within the next, I would probably predict in the next 3 laps he's going to have to pit. And I would say for Damage is probably going to have to pit in the next 3 laps as well. So this is the strategy to look out for. Warrior still has a nice lead over Pig. Not a big enough lead, to be comfortable or anything, but he's definitely lapping faster than Pig in the Chevrolet. Dylan, can you still hear me?
Yes. Just trying to crunch the numbers, and yeah, Damage. It's no question that Damage and Intersport will have to pit. Texas, Dan, and Spidey, I believe, will all also have to pit. I believe they are all burning more than a liter a minute, which means that they will not make the end of this race. Cone is right on the knife's edge. I think he's on the wrong side of the knife's edge, however.
This race, folks, is not over yet. Oh boy. It is not over yet, so the strategy call here is going to be something.
If Intersport and Cone pit, Driver will inherit the lead, I do believe. It'll be extra close between him and Intersport. He will get past Cone should Cone pit. Again, the GTEs, they're good to go to the end. I'm pretty sure every single prototype needs at least 1 lap's worth of fuel. And another thing LMP2s have to keep in mind, where are they when the leader crosses the checkered flag? And that's one thing we have not actually thought about. If the leader crosses the checkered flag directly ahead of second place in LMP2, LMP2 second place, Intersport's pitting this lap, by the way.
Yep.
LMP2 second place does not need to do the extra lap that the leader does. And if the leader runs out of fuel on the last lap, do we count that as a win because he traveled more distance? Or do we count it as a DNF because he did not take the checkered flag? That is a question that we will need to possibly answer depending on what they do.
Cone Dodger does go by. Where is Driver?
Driver's just now in 7 and 8. Jeff's moving. Jeff is moving. Intersport is moving. Driver, oh, folks, this is going to be close. This is going to be extra close. He's only halfway down pit lane. You can see Driver in the background. They're both on the front straight. Jeff's off the limiter. Driver's at the line. Jeff has the shorter but tighter pit exit.
But his tires, he didn't take tires.
Driver, damage is in the pits. Driver has the run coming up into 3, but Jeff will have the position coming out of 3. However, the race is on for LMP2.
It could be a 3-way battle right here at the end just for the win.
Cone will need to pit for sure. So, Intersport, it has more than enough fuel. However, still a little bit less than Driver actually. But they are definitely good to go to the end. Cone still needs to pit for sure.
I think Daniel is in fuel conversation mode because look at his lap times. He is going significantly slower than everybody left. So Daniel is trying to do his best to save his fuel.
Daniel was only 0.7 off of Texas's last lap time. So if he is in fuel save mode, it's not that much. He is short shifting the car a little bit, which means he's saving some fuel. But if these LMP1 drivers are so close, they have definitely backed it down some. They're short shifting. I'm not going to name names, but certain drivers are not going full throttle the entire straight.
Cone Dodger trying to get around the Chevy there of Pig. But he is definitely somebody to watch for. Intersport and Driver having a battle. Driver trying to look to the outside of Intersport there. Intersport cuts him off a little bit. But Driver looks to attack the inside.
Nice over-under.
Like he got the battle run. He looks like he got the better line. And Driver does get out in front. So Driver gets out in front of Intersport here.
Intersport late on the brakes. Takes a wide entry, tight exit, tried to get the power down earlier. Not able to do so with that line. And Driver increasing that gap to about 2.5 car lengths. Now 3 heading into turn 6. Through turn 7, through the puddles at turn 7 and 8. Staying wide of the curbing. Make sure not to hit the puddles trapped in that.
Right now, Driver looks like he has the better car in the wet conditions here over Intersport.
Sorry if I'm a bit yawny, folks. Got up 5 in the morning for work this morning, but don't let my yawns fool you. This has me at the edge of my seat. The LMP1 drivers are oh so close, and this battle is by no means over. The LMP1 drivers, ooh, Spidey is not saving enough fuel. Dan and Texas, I'll tell you what, they need the checkered flag to fall exactly when they cross the line, because they cannot do a lap more of fuel.
Daniel is coming into the LMP2 cars. I don't know if this is going to hurt him but this might hurt Intersport here. Wherever Daniel makes the pass, he does make the pass.
Meanwhile, driver ran wide through turn 7. Cone, coming out of turn 8, almost lost it in front of Texas. Had to get off the throttle and lost some time there. Meanwhile, who was that, Spidey? Spidey's also working their way through. I think that's Koala. Jumps off the track smartly to get the heck out of Dodge. With the swarm of 4 prototypes coming down the front straight.
It is just a spray fest right there down the straight. Spidey trying to look for a move on Daniel here. Spidey has completely gotten himself back into the P2 spot. I mean, Daniel currently in P2, but Spidey's trying to fight for it here. I think Spidey is going to take that gamble of... I think Daniel believes he may...
Daniel and Texas are trying to stay out. Spidey needs to save a lot of fuel in order to do so. Damage, I hate to say it, but he's shit out of luck with that crappy fuel tank. Pardon my French, by the way. But that, sorry, I'm a little bit passionate about that. It's just, Audi has such a small fuel tank compared to the other cars. And Cone is in. Cone is in. Driver and Intersport are at the end of the second sector. They will inherit the lead. So that battle is now the battle for the lead in LMP2. Meanwhile, the lead for GTE had closed up, but with the LMP1 cars cutting through the field again, it has separated a little bit, such as the ebb and flow.
I think Cone misses his pit. And he was
He definitely did.
In pit, or there is a puddle in pit road. If you look right there, there is a huge puddle right at the start, and I think that got him out. That is devastating for Cone. Devastating for Cone, as now is now down to driver and Intersport.
And you can see they're coming up to that GTE lead. So our 2 slower classes, GTE and LMP2, battle for the leads in both classes are now at the same spot on track, heading out of 3 down into turn 4.
And in the group in front of them, it's the battle for P2 and LMP1.
See driver flashing his lights. Intersport a late lunge into 3, possibly scraping doors with Snipper. Meanwhile, driver has a very compromised line out of turn 3. Hits a puddle and lost it. He saved it. Wow, what a save. He still lost the lead in a lot of time, but what a save by driver.
What an immaculate save to not hit the wall there. So now he's going to have to get past the cars again. But it's going to be tough.
And Snipper lost it. Snipper lost it. Driver made a late lunge into turn 7 and put Snipper offline.
And driver has spun out too. Driver has spun out as well. Driver has spun out. Which now leaves Intersport in control of the race win for LMP2. Drama, folks, with 3. We have Cone Dodger spinning out in pit lane, and then you have driver spinning out, saves his car from hitting the wall. Pig then spins out, and then driver spins out again, all in just a matter of 2 minutes.
And folks,
4 spin outs.
The entire LMP1 field is banking on not doing an extra lap. They are banking on time running out when Texas is in the 3rd sector. Because if Texas crosses the line with less than 30 seconds remaining, they will all be out of fuel. I'm telling you that right now. And if that happens, I mean, honestly, I don't think Spidey's going to make it. I think Spidey has to make a splash. Damage is just licking his chops right now. has to be begging for time to be on his side. The leader is doing 123s.
He's trying to save as much fuel as he can.
And Snipper has DC'd.
He's still in here on my screen.
On my screen, he's parked in the middle of the track in turn 4.
Oh, that's where he was for me for like a while, but now he's currently going through the penultimate turn.
Alright, we'll keep an eye on that. Still not looking good for Snipper, though, if his connection's that dodgy this late in the race. And, folks, our leader is coasting so much, he is not even hitting the brakes for the penultimate corner. That is a downhill entry, and he's still getting off the throttle early enough to coast for that length of time. We'll see what Daniel does, as, yeah, you can see the puddles coming out of turn 8 are absolutely horrific now. Daniel's saving fuel, but definitely not as much as Texas.
Spidey is pitting now. Spidey is pitting now.
And that will give the lead to Daniel. Meanwhile, Damage is coming under the Worth Bridge now and will likely pass Spidey. Indeed, he will, as Spidey has also spun it coming into pit lane. Folks, pit lane is a death trap right now. I mean, Spidey is just now to his pit stall. It is a swimming pool in pit entrance. And you can see why.
Danger out when he was making his pit. That's what got him to spin. I think this is going to be close. I think this is going to be close. Will Texas or Daniel run out of fuel? They are both at the same amount. Wow.
Which, if they're at the same exact amount, that means that Daniel will, and they are, Daniel will run out of fuel before Texas, because Daniel has another quarter of a lap to do behind Texas. They're both short shifting to heck and back. Texas has slowed down to 25s now, almost a minute 30s as far as lap times.
Yeah, he just said a 124, literally a second off of the fastest time that was just set in LMP2. So this has now become a fuel strategy race here. As right now, Damage is just trying to put the power down to try and catch up to, but with Damage now hauling, he can catch up to Daniel for P2.
He definitely can. I don't think he'll have enough time to do it in the 3 laps remaining in this race. And speaking of 3 laps, that's 3 laps with 3.2 liters. Folks, I don't think Texas is going to do it. I hate to say that. I don't think he's going to do it. He's definitely got the time. Daniel, you know what? With how much fuel they have to save, Damage might be able to get past Daniel. It's going to be so close.
Yeah. Damage is just, he is on his way to Daniel right now. Just, wow.
Meanwhile,
he was down 10 seconds. Now he's just down to 7.
Meanwhile, the lead in GTE is back down to about, I would call it 4 seconds, maybe 3. As Warrior had a problem coming out of turn 3 that last lap, dealing with lap traffic.
Daniel is not getting what he needs right now, which is lap trap, which is the slower cars. As Damage is now right. Damage has Daniel right in his sights now for P2. So I have to ask, is this the penultimate lap?
This will be the penultimate lap. There's no way this is going to be the last lap.
It looks like driver had another spin.
Indeed it does, unfortunately for him. His amazing race, I mean, hell of a move at the start of the race. He went for it.
Yeah, and made it 3 wide. He took the lead, but unfortunately, the race is kind of unraveled for him here. So this is the white flag coming up, ain't it?
Yes. Texas is coming to the white flag right now, as he will have enough fuel. He's definitely not going to set the...
There is something else going on, though. With Daniel currently stuck behind Snipper Pig, this might open the door for Damage here to get past.
And Damage is past. Daniel is just looking to go around the outside of Snipper. Daniel's just trying to hang on to that third and final podium spot. In fact, Daniel, what he's done is he's put it into 7th gear, and he's just coasting around this final lap to make sure he has enough fuel. I hate to say this. Daniel, I do not think has enough fuel.
Does Texas Time have enough fuel?
Yeah. I say that. He's got half a liter with a sector to go.
Damage trying to haul as best as he can. Will Texas Time have enough? This is going to be, oh my god.
I think he will. I think he'll cross the line with about a quarter of a liter left. He's down to 4/10. Yeah, Texas has enough fuel to coast from here. Has enough momentum to coast. And indeed, that's exactly what he's doing.
Slow. He does, yep. And now he can go. He can now go.
Checkers are out.
As Texas Time wins the WEC Australian Sprint Race. Where is Intersport? He's right there.
And meanwhile, we missed a change for the lead in GTE, folks.
Yeah, Pig is now in the lead. Pig is now in the lead of this race, so we may have missed out on that because we were trying to see if he was going to run out of fuel. So we are sorry about that, folks.
Damage crosses the line in 2nd. Meanwhile, Daniel has stepped on it with half a liter left in the final 2 corners. Everyone running wide in the penultimate corner, trying desperately to chase down the final positions coming to the line. Daniel's going to cross the line with 0.1 liters left in the tank.
And Pig wins the GTE race. And Pig got his first ever win in the WEC series. That is his first ever win ever in WEC. I don't know if Warrior had a spin out or if he went out on track, but Snipper Pig is your winner in GTE. Texas Time is your winner in LMP1. And Intersport wins Australia. What a finish. Wow.
These sprint races have proven once again that they are some of the most entertaining shows that WC has to offer. 4 different races, 4 different sprint races, and we've had 4 different winners in GTE. How about that?
Amazing. Just absolutely amazing finish there. So much drama. There was a bit of a lull there in the middle part of the race, but it ramped up really great there right at the end.
Indeed. So again, Snipper taking the win in GTE. Corvette on a 2 sprint race win streak. And any final thoughts, Pecan?
Terrific race. Right there at the end, that was dramatic to watch and really exciting racing there.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the next sprint race. I unfortunately will not be here. I might not be here for the next endurance round on Sunday, June 28th, as real racing gets restarted at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So depending on how long that day goes, we have an action-packed day there. You can watch that on the SVRA and Trans Am apps. But I could be running late to that. So thank you for tuning in today, folks, and have a nice night.